Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be sharing with you my Messor Barbarus colony, which is over 2 years old now. This colony has been with me since the start, and if you've been watching since the beginning, you'll remember these guys from the very first video. So without further ado, let's get right into it. As you already know by now, this colony of Messor Barbarus is rather old, and over the past few years they've been consistently one of my biggest colonies, and they were also the first colony of mine to actually get elates. This showed me that they were mature enough as a colony to start reproducing, which is why I moved them into this tub. As you can see, the old outworld compared to this massive new one is absolutely tiny. I mean, they would not have had anywhere near enough space for their colony right now, which is why it was basically a must-have to move them into this setup. Along with having the new space and of course a massive foraging area, they also had access to one new key feature, and that was a substrate. I gave them about 200 grams of sand into their corner of the outward, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in ant terms that is quite a lot. And as you can see, they've moved it into their outworld, the other corner of their massive outworld, and they've kind of just also spread it a little bit over the floor of everywhere. Towards the beginning, this wasn't really that bad, as I mean, having bits of sand in the corners of the outworld isn't that big of a deal. But towards the present day, they've started to put their rubbish into tiny little piles around the edge of their entire box, which is going to start to be a problem. Along with that, there is another glaring problem on the screen right now. Can you see it? If you couldn't tell what it is, it's the queen that's walking around the outworld. See, you may be asking why it's even a problem in the first place, but I don't know if this is an elate that has just lost its wings somehow, or whether it's the actual queen of the colony, which is the main egg producer. Now, if it is an elate, there's nothing for me to worry about, as the queen is probably somewhere in one of the 3 nests, just chilling out and laying some eggs. But if it is the actual queen, then this colony might have some problems in the near future. If that is the actual queen, that means that the colony's only egg producer is gone, which means that in the next 2 to 4 months, there will be no more new eggs, no more new larvae, and then no more new workers. And of course, you can see the problem with that, as no more new workers means the colony will slowly die out. So for now, we'll hope that it's not the only egg-laying queen in the colony, and that this colony will continue to thrive and grow in the near future. Back to the rest of the colony though, we can see that in this test tube, they have tons of pupae, lots of workers, some pretty cool mages, and a nice elate. As you can see, there are quite a few mages and workers that have slightly more orange/yellow heads, and that's for a good reason. See, these specific workers/mages are just younger, that's it. And because they're younger, that means that their exoskeletons haven't had the time to harden, which means that they haven't developed the same dark outer shell. However, in Messor Barbarus and some other species, they do actually have varying coloration for their heads and other body parts. For Messor Barbarus specifically, you can see that there are a lot of red-headed Messor Barbarus ants for sale, and there are also just the black-headed ones. The red-headed ones will usually result in workers, mages, and soldiers, which have, well, redder heads, and then the black-headed ones, of course, will have black-headed workers. Personally, one of my favourite things about the red-headed Messor Barbarus is the fact that you can see their eyes. It's a lot more clear in the pupae, as you can see in the test tube, but even for the elate you can see her individual eyes, and for most of the workers you can see theirs too. Okay, let's shift focus a second and go back onto the setup. One of the biggest questions I can see you guys asking is, Anstorset, how do these guys not get out? Their elate household's big enough for their elates, let alone their workers and mages. It's pretty simple with only 2 steps. Number 1 is by giving them tons of space. As you can see, the box is massive and they haven't quite filled it up yet. They have way more than enough space to forage, so I can give them an enrichment like sugar water and mealworms to keep them preoccupied, as well as giving them seeds of course. I also make sure that they have way more than enough nest space, so they don't go looking elsewhere for nesting space and move into my cupboard or something, because that would be terrible. And the second fact is going to sound rather silly, but it's just the fact that Messor Barbarus are terrible at climbing. Although this box does have a PTFE barrier, they rarely even get to it, and just fall off beforehand. However, the one thing that I haven't accounted for yet is if and when the elates do fly, because when they do, and they most likely will, they will have a fairly easy time getting out, as all they have to do is go up and then over the lip. I mean, it's so simple for them, they just have to fly a little bit. Although, hopefully, these guys are terrible at flying too. In the near future, I'll most likely give them some more sand inside their outworld, which is inside their outworld. I know that was a little bit confusing, but on the screen now you can see there is sand there, but it's really not enough for them to have cover in, let alone nest in. Also, hope you appreciate this shot, as it took me a while to get it, as I literally had to put my entire camera into the box and then through the lid of the outworld. I don't know if it was worth it, but you can tell me in the comments below. If you've made it this far into the video, I'd highly recommend subscribing, as it's free and it helps me out a ton, but it's completely up to you, so I'll give you this time lapse to think about it. I really hope you enjoyed this video, but as always, thank you so much for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later!